We have cranes that can lift 20,000 tons. We have laser-guided cutting tools accurate to 1,000th of a millimeter. We have supercomputers that can model the structural load of a building down to the individual bolt. And yet, right now, scattered across every continent on this planet, there are structures that our best engineers look at and quietly admit they have no idea how they were built. Not it would be difficult, not it would be expensive. Straight up, we don't know how they did it. Some of these buildings were constructed before the wheel existed, before writing existed, before metal tools existed, and they are still standing. So let's talk about ancient buildings that have absolutely no business existing, starting with the big ones. Number 1. Coral Castle. It's 1923, and a frail, 5-foot-tall Latvian immigrant named Edward Leedskalnin has just purchased a plot of land in Florida City, Florida. He weighs about 100 pounds soaking wet. He has no construction crew, no heavy machinery, no engineering degree. What he does have is a lot of time and apparently a broken heart. Over the next 28 years, working entirely alone, always at night, Edward single-handedly quarried, moved, and assembled over 1,100 tons of coral rock into an elaborate structure he called Coral Castle. We're talking walls standing 8 feet tall, a 9-ton gate so perfectly balanced it could be pushed open with a single finger, a 30-ton telescope tower, a 22-ton obelisk, an accurate working sundial, and a crescent moon fountain carved from a single piece of coral weighing 23 tons. Here's what makes this insane. On the few occasions neighbors tried to watch him work, they reported seeing the coral blocks floating through the air like hydrogen balloons. When investigators and engineers examined the site, trying to figure out how he did it, they found nothing. No special equipment, no evidence of earthworks or ramps, no pulleys or cranes. When asked directly, Leedskalnin only ever said he had discovered the secrets of the ancient Egyptians. He died in 1951 and took whatever he knew with him. Modern engineers have visited the site, looked at the 30-ton stones, and said flat out that moving them without heavy machinery is essentially impossible. The structure still stands in Homestead, Florida today. You can drive there and look at it. To this day, nobody can fully explain how a sick, 100-pound man built a castle alone in the dark.
Number 2. The Great Pyramid of Giza. I know what you're thinking, everyone talks about the pyramids, but stay with me because the specific details are what get you. The Great Pyramid was built around 2560 BC. It contains approximately 2.3 million stone blocks. The average block weighs 2.5 to 15 tons. Some of the granite blocks in the interior chambers weigh 80 tons and were transported from a quarry over 500 miles away. The entire structure covers 13 acres and was the tallest man-made structure on Earth for 3,800 years. But here's where it gets truly absurd. The base of the Great Pyramid is level to within 2.1 centimeters across the entire 13-acre footprint. The sides are aligned to true north, south, east, and west with an accuracy of 0.067 degrees. The Paris meridian, the line that defined true north for all of Western cartography, is less accurate. The individual stone blocks are fitted together with gaps of less than half a millimeter. You cannot slide a credit card between them. Modern stonemasons, using modern power tools, have attempted to replicate this precision and failed. And we're expected to believe this was achieved by a civilization using copper chisels and wooden sledges? The math doesn't work out. The timeline doesn't work out. Archaeologists estimate it would have required 20,000 workers 20 years to complete, meaning they would have needed to place one 2.5-ton block every 2 minutes, 24 hours a day for 2 straight decades. That's before you factor in sourcing the blocks, transporting them, cutting them to half-millimeter tolerances, and getting the alignment accurate to a fraction of a degree. We've been studying this structure for 200 years, and we still can't agree on how it was built. Number 3. Göbekli Tepe. In 1994, a Kurdish shepherd in southeastern Turkey noticed something odd sticking out of the dirt on a hillside. He alerted archaeologists. What they found underneath rewrote human history. Göbekli Tepe is a temple complex consisting of massive T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in circles, many weighing between 10 and 20 tons, some standing 18 feet tall. They're covered in intricate carvings of animals, symbols, and abstract figures. The workmanship is extraordinary, and it was built approximately 12,000 years ago. Let me explain why that number is devastating to everything we thought we knew. 12,000 years ago, humans were not supposed to be capable of this. Agriculture hadn't been invented yet. Pottery hadn't been invented. Writing was 7,000 years away. Metalworking was 8,000 years away. The official archaeological timeline said that large-scale organized construction required a settled agricultural society with a structured workforce and leadership hierarchy. Göbekli Tepe predates all of that by thousands of years. According to our model of human civilization, it cannot exist. And yet, the stone circles are right there in the ground, older than anything we thought humans could build. What makes it even stranger is that around 8000 BC, somebody deliberately and carefully buried the entire complex under tons of earth, not destroyed it, not abandoned it, intentionally concealed it. We have absolutely no idea why. We're still excavating it. Only about 5% of the site has been uncovered. What else is down there, we genuinely don't know.
Number 4. Nan Madol. Off the eastern coast of the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia, sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there is a city built on a lagoon. Not built beside a lagoon, built on it. Nan Madol is a complex of nearly 100 artificial islands constructed from interlocking basalt logs, some of them weighing up to 50 tons, stacked like a log cabin without mortar or binding material of any kind. The walls in places are 25 feet tall and 17 feet thick. The entire complex covers nearly 200 acres of open ocean. Construction is estimated to have begun around 200 AD and continued for centuries. Here's the problem. The nearest source of the specific basalt used in construction is on the other side of the island, across open ocean. There are no roads connecting the quarry to the site. The islanders at the time had no cranes, no wheels, no draft animals, no metal tools. Local oral tradition says the stones were flown to the site through the air by a sorcerer, which is obviously not an engineering explanation. But the fact that that's the best answer the local inhabitants had suggests that even they had no idea how it was done. Modern engineers and archaeologists have looked at the construction and stated that the islanders somehow, intuitively or deliberately, built the walls so that during an earthquake, the massive stones shift slightly and then settle back into place. The precision of the fit is what creates the stability. We would call that genius-level seismic engineering today. The Inca called it Wednesday. They built it as a military fortress.
Number 5. Sacsayhuamán. High in the Andes Mountains, sitting at 12,000 feet above sea level above the city of Cusco, Peru, the Inca built something that has been making engineers uncomfortable for 5 centuries. Sacsayhuamán is a fortress complex built from limestone blocks so large that the Spanish conquistadors who first saw it in the 1500s refused to believe humans had built it. They assumed it was the work of demons. The largest blocks weigh 130 tons. That is heavier than a fully loaded Boeing 737. They were quarried from a site 25 miles away, transported across rivers and mountain terrain, and placed with such extraordinary precision that the joints between them are tighter than a sheet of paper. No mortar, no cement, no binding agent. Just raw stone fitted together so perfectly that after 500 years of earthquakes in one of the most seismically active regions on the planet, the walls haven't moved. That last part is actually the most impressive. Modern structural engineers have studied the construction and concluded that the Inca somehow, intuitively or deliberately, built the walls so that during an earthquake, the massive stones shift slightly and then settle back into place. The precision of the fit is what creates the stability. We would call that genius-level seismic engineering today. The Inca called it Wednesday. They built it as a military fortress.
Now for the supporting cast. Shorter entries but no less baffling.
The Baalbek Megaliths. In Lebanon, the Romans built a massive temple complex on top of an even older foundation, and that foundation contains the largest cut stones ever used in any construction project in human history. The stone of the pregnant woman weighs 1,000 tons. The stone of the south weighs 1,242 tons. These stones were quarried, moved, and placed at height with no cranes, no modern machinery, nothing. For context, the largest crane currently operating in the world, the Liebherr LTM 11200, has a maximum lift capacity of 1,200 tons. We would need the single most powerful crane on Earth operating at its absolute maximum capacity just to move these stones. We have no explanation for how ancient builders moved them. The Longyou Caves. In 1992, a farmer in Zhejiang Province, China, decided to pump the water out of a pond on his property. What he found underneath was a vast artificial cave complex hand-carved out of solid siltstone, consisting of 36 grottos covering 30,000 square meters. The ceilings, walls, and floors are covered in precise, parallel chisel marks, perfectly uniform in spacing and angle across the entire complex. There is no mention of these caves in any Chinese historical record. No legend, no story, no document. A structure the size of a sports stadium carved entirely by hand, and nobody wrote it down. Nobody knows who built it, when it was built, or why. It was completely unknown to the world until that farmer pumped out his pond.
Newgrange. In Ireland, there is a tomb that predates Stonehenge by 500 years and the Great Pyramid by 200 years. Newgrange was built around 3200 BC by a civilization we know almost nothing about. It's a massive circular mound of earth and stone, 250 feet in diameter, faced with white quartz that was transported from 50 miles away. Inside is a narrow 60-foot passage leading to a central chamber. Once a year, on the winter solstice, the rising sun aligns perfectly with the entrance passage and illuminates the chamber for exactly 17 minutes. The builders designed and constructed this alignment with a precision that requires advanced astronomical knowledge, accurate surveying across a 50-foot-long passage, and an understanding of the solar year that we didn't think anyone had 5,000 years ago. What makes this stranger is that nobody lived there. It was purely ceremonial. An ancient civilization with no written language invested enormous resources to build a monument whose entire purpose was a single 17-minute light show once a year. We don't know their name, we don't know their language, we don't know what happened to them. So, there you have it. Ancient buildings that have no business existing. A 100-pound man built a castle alone in the dark and refused to explain how. The most precisely built structure in history was somehow assembled with copper tools. A temple complex in Turkey is older than agriculture itself and was deliberately hidden. A city was built in the middle of the ocean by people with no machinery. And a tomb in Ireland was programmed to light up for 17 minutes once a year by people whose names we'll never know. Modern engineers keep visiting these sites, running their calculations and coming back with the same answer. We don't know. Maybe that's the most humbling thing about human history. The further back you look, the less we understand. And somewhere out there, probably already discovered and sitting in a museum somewhere, is the next piece of evidence that everything we think we know about ancient civilization is wrong. We just haven't noticed it yet.